Tom. Tom. My dearest Tom.
Hello? Oh, hello, Ismini. Oh, I'm fine. Oh, no, I'm not sad. Just that it didn't work out, that's all. Yes. Yes, of course. Oh, I'd like that, yes. Well, where shall we meet? All right. Yes, I know that. Okay. I'll see you then. Right.
Did you sleep well?
Like a log.
No more music in the night? The tape recorder didn't switch itself on again?
No, nothing.
I'm sorry that yesterday was such a disappointment. I just couldn't make contact with your husband.
But you did your best.
As I told you, it was very strange. As though suddenly a barrier was thrown up and I couldn't get through it to reach him.
But you nearly did. I'm sure of that. Don was so close. I felt his presence, and then when
When what?
Well, it wasn't just a momentary thing. For a long time after I got home, I still felt it.
But you experienced nothing more than that?
No, nothing.
Do you still want to try again?
Of course.
When?
Soon? Next week sometime, perhaps?
Whenever you wish. Are you staying in town? We could maybe have lunch together if you are.
Oh, I'd love to, Ismini. I really would, but not today. I must get on with some more work. I thought I might take a trip up the West Coast, see what that has to offer.
It was only a passing thought if you had nothing else to do. Is David going with you?
No, I haven't asked him. I feel guilty enough as it is about David. I mean, it's so unfair. For these past weeks, I've been dragging him away from his work.
I don't think that you had to drag him, did you?
Well, no, that's true. But I can't expect him to go on chauffeuring me around. Anyway, it's not necessary. I know my own way now. So, bang goes any excuse either of us had for him neglecting his book.
Then we shall eat together tonight, the three of us. There is a taverna not far away from my house where the food is excellent. I shall ask them to prepare something very special for us. Unless you have other plans, of course.
No, none.
Then if you would like that.
Yes, very much. That would be nice.
Hello, love. I didn't know you were into jogging. Can't be easy in those heels. Oh, excuse the sweat.
I called at your house. Your landlord told me you had come up here.
Twice a week, if I can.
A healthy mind and a healthy body.
Oh, God, but that sounds boring. I think I might give it up. Ooh. Something urgent?
Probably.
Problems?
Have you seen Anne today?
No, she told me not to bother picking her up.
Have you spoken to her?
Not this morning, why?
We had coffee together earlier.
And?
How was she when you drove her home yesterday?
She was okay. Bit quiet, but that's understandable. Did something else happen after I dropped her off?
She says not.
And you don't believe her, is that it?
Yes. I'm not sure that I do.
So I thought you two had some special kind of empathy, like being able to read each other's minds.
We have, and we can. But Anne was fighting me this morning, deliberately shutting me out.
Why should she?
To protect herself, perhaps.
Well, from you?
From my reaction, maybe, and from the consequences of it.
Yes, but you're not working against her.
No, of course not. But someone is. And that's why we didn't succeed in establishing a link with her husband. Some force prevented it. Which is why I'm worried for her. Anne is at risk, David.
And what kind of risk? And from whom? Donald Tierney?
Perhaps. Or from someone who is using him.
Good morning.
Welcome to the village of Ahios Theodorus, Mrs. Tierney. You have not been here before, I think.
No. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Very. You are not, I hope, going to leave without calling on me.
I didn't want to disturb you. I thought about it, though. I wanted to ask you if I could photograph inside the castle.
Of course you may. You are always welcome there. Shall we go?
No.
If you have finished here, and if you will do me the honor, there is a path. It is a pleasant walk.
My car's parked in the square.
Then you will give me the keys and I will send someone for it. Kalimera. Επίσης.
What did she say?
Oh, she wished me many years. She is grateful for a small service I was able to do her family.
That was kind of you.
How you flatter me, Mrs. Tierney. Kindness had nothing to do with it. It was an obligation. When my kinsman de Montfort held the castle of Saint Theodore, the people of this village were his people, and they served him well.
And now you live in the castle.
And the debt has been renewed.
Is this wise, Maître?
What harm is she doing?
None while she remains in the courtyard. But what if she asks to photograph the interior?
If she wishes to, then she will have my permission, Colonel.
Without any restrictions?
We have nothing to hide. There is no one of any consequence in residence. Our special guests don't arrive until Saturday evening.
I would remind you, Maître, that her husband also took photographs here in the castle.
They were destroyed when he was killed.
There were others, which she has seen.
Which also no longer exist.
Nevertheless, we still do not know how much of an impression they made on her. Being here today might well refresh her memory of them and rekindle her curiosity.
You worry needlessly, von Reitz. I've told you already she's forgotten about those photographs.
Are you certain of that?
Absolutely certain. She hasn't missed them. She doesn't even think about them anymore. She has something of far greater importance on her mind now.
Good morning. Everyone right?
Good morning, Mrs. Tierney. It is good to see you again. You are well, I hope.
Fine, thanks. And you?
Very well. Excuse me. Mrs. Tierney?
Is there anything else you would like to see, which is of interest to you as a photographer?
Oh, I think I've got enough for today.
Anyway, I don't want to make a nuisance of myself.
Oh, in no way are you a nuisance, Mrs. Tierney. Nor could you be. But if you've seen enough for now, then we can have lunch.
Oh, well, that's very good of you, but I wasn't expecting...
Perhaps not. But I am. Solo crepe is a favorite of yours, I think.
Here they are, κύριε Πάσκο. There are more, but I think that you would prefer not to have so many at one time. They are some of the documents which were in the Turkish library and which I said I would make available to you. To help you in your search for information on the Castello Aios Theodoros and the Knight Templar de Montrefault.
Oh, yes, of course. Thanks. This is very kind of you, Kyria Kaluthi. Only I do hope you didn't go to a lot of trouble on my account. I mean, it was only a casual inquiry.
I see.
Well, I did say that at the time, didn't I?
Possibly, but without sufficient stress, perhaps. And of course, had you made that absolutely clear to me then, I would certainly not have...
No. Casual's not the right word. No, what I mean is that there's no urgency about it.
You said you would be interested to see them.
Yes, indeed, and I am very interested, and I'm very grateful to you. It's just I know how very busy you are, and I'd hate to think that I'd impose on your time.
When I say that I will do something, Kyrie Paschou, I make every effort to do so with speed. It is an attempt on my part to discourage the slander that we Greeks are, how is the expression? Long on promises, but short on delivery.
Who says that?
There are those who do, mischievously.
Well, it certainly doesn't apply to this museum, and especially the library. I was only saying to the minister when I was last in Athens how very impressed I'd always been with the dedication and efficiency I'd found here.
You said that to the minister?
I thought I'd let him know how I felt, for what it's worth. He seemed quite pleased.
Well, yes, I am, that you have such an opinion. But then, of course, I am confident that you did not imagine for a single moment that I considered that you, Kyrie Paschou, who, if I may say so, I have always looked upon as a fellow Rhodian in all but birth, have ever subscribed to such...
Of course not, and I do appreciate you digging these out for me.
It was my pleasure. You may find one or two references in them which will be helpful to you. I will leave you to study them.
Thank you.
And if you should perhaps learn anything from them which you feel is worthy of passing on to your friend, Kyrio Lavalier, when you next visit him at the Castello Aios Theodoros, you might possibly mention to him that I was of some service to you in this matter.
I'll make a point of it.
Not that I wish to advance myself with him, of course.
Of course not.
Merely to gain his respect for the museum, you understand?
I understand.
Of course you do. But then, as I said, you are almost Greek.
Thank you. That looks delicious.
How long are you staying on Rhodes, Mrs. Tierney?
Oh, I don't know. A month, probably, this time.
You intend to return?
Well, the idea is for me to capture the feeling of the island in all 4 seasons.
Subjectively? As you respond to what you see around you?
Oh, entirely subjectively. The book's going to be called Tierney's Eye on Rhodes. Though, when the publishers first floated the idea, the eye, of course, was going to be my husband's.
You will bring another dimension to the book.
No, thank you. Just salad. What's that?
Tenderness.
Well, you're very kind, but I think you're wrong. Perhaps you haven't seen the photographs Donald took in Vietnam.
Well, those he took in Vietnam and in the Middle East. I told you, I'm a great admirer of his work.
And you didn't find tenderness in them?
No. Compassion, infinite compassion. But not tenderness. No man is capable of true tenderness. It is anathema to their conceit. But they can be compassionate, as they can be merciful. Both are indulgences.
That's a terrible indictment.
And what is your verdict? Would you marry again?
No. Well, who knows, perhaps. In time.
It would be a pity if you did not, I think.
Why?
So much of your life is still ahead of you. You should not allow this tragedy to prevent you from living it to the full. You have a great deal to bring to marriage. Beauty, talent, tenderness, and with the right partner, much to take from it.
I'd certainly never remarry while Donald is so close to me. You probably won't believe this, but you know there are times when I feel I could just reach out and touch him. When I imagine that I have done even.
You find consolation in that, do you?
Some. But little peace of mind. That's why I tried to reach him.
Reach him?
I expect you'll think I'm stupid, irresponsible. But recently I met a woman here on Rhodes. She's...
A medium.
I think she prefers the word sensitive.
And has she helped you?
She tried to make contact with Donald for me yesterday. And she almost succeeded. I'm absolutely sure of that. Next time, perhaps.
When is the next time to be?
I'm not sure at the moment. Something's happened since then. Something so very real. And yet it can't have been, of course. Oh. I don't know.
Yasu? Ευχαριστώ.
Παρακαλώ.
Thank you again for that magnificent lunch. And for letting me photograph the castle.
I'm only sorry that you have to leave so soon.
I must, I'm afraid. I've got some more film to get off to London.
You will come again.
Yes, I'd like that.
On Friday night, perhaps. A diversion, a masquerade, un petit bal moderne. Your friend, Mr. Bascom, would be also welcome as your escort.
Well, I'm not sure.
Please. You will enjoy it, I promise you.
But David might not be free on Friday night.
Then on your own if he is not. At 9 o'clock.
Thank you. Is it a celebration?
Of course.
What will you be celebrating?
You shall decide that, Mrs. Tierney. On Friday night. There is a woman called Christianus on the island. Ismini Christianus. I want her address.
I, Philibert de Belabre, novice of the Sovereign Military and Hospitalier Order of St. John of Jerusalem, in defiance of the edicts of the Grand Master, the Sacred Council, and the Pilier of the tongue of Auvergne and Marshal of the Order, do set down for posterity these events which took place within the castle of St. Theodore in the year of our Lord 1317, in the interests of truth, for the betterment of knowledge, and secure in the consolation of the absolution granted to me by my confessor.
It confirms that Tybalt de Montfort was a Templar. It also explains what he was doing here on Rhodes. He was on the run.
From what?
The Inquisition.
Smart fellow.
He had committed some crime?
But all the Templars had, according to the Pope and King Philip of France. But by the time de Montfort and his cronies turned up here, most of the order were in prison, or had been tortured to death, or put to the stake.
What had they done?
The order had become too rich and powerful. Simple as that. But the accusations that were levelled against the Templars at the time were that for years they'd secretly worshipped the devil, gone in for all sorts of other nasty practices. Anyway, they were a bloody arrogant lot by anyone's standards, and pretty much a law unto themselves for nigh on a couple of 100 years. A sort of elite secret society. And they certainly did go in for some rather strange rituals, which, if not actually blasphemous, were pretty damn close to it. They didn't exactly spurn the pleasures of the flesh, either. But then, morally, none of the military orders was much to write home about. Only with the Templars, they'd... I'm sorry, I'm running on a bit, aren't I? It's just that that portrait Anne and I saw up at the Castello didn't make any sense until today. And the story behind it is fascinating, and what's more, it hasn't been published anywhere as far as I know.
And it is something of a coup for you, no?
No, a minor one anyway. No. May I have another?
Of course.
Would you like a refill? How about you?
No, thanks.
We all right for time?
Oh, I told Petros that we will be at the tavern at about 9:30.
Yeah, just a small one then.
And you must also be pleased that the mystery is solved.
Oh, well, all that Templar bit was a bit wasted on me, I'm afraid. I was just struck by the incredible likeness of the man in the portrait to La Valliere. They could almost be twins.
Yeah, it's remarkable. A real throwback. Wonder how much he knows about his illustrious ancestor.
Oh, well, not everything. If what you found today has been hidden all this time, as you say.
If this young novice, Philibert de Belabre, hadn't secretly written the whole story down, we'd still been none the wiser.
He was taking a bit of a risk, wasn't he?
Life imprisonment or getting the chop even. You see, I reckon the Grand Master and the other bigwigs of the Hospitallers would have gone to just about any lengths to hush up what actually happened.
Well, come on, you can't just leave it at that, surely.
Oh, I don't want to bore you.
Oh, you know very well that you are not boring, as is he.
Now, come on, David, you've got to finish the story.
Well, as I said, none of the orders was above reproach, and this was fairly common knowledge even in those days. But apparently de Montfort had really got the goods on the Hospitallers. And if what he knew about them had got out, there was no way that even Pope Clement could have gone on turning a blind eye. So blackmailing the Grand Master into giving them all sanctuary and handing over the castle of Dios Theodorus was a piece of cake for him.
You're destroying all my illusions about knights in shining armor, you know.
Well, not before time, then. Anyway, everything seemed to go all right for a while. But then the Hospitallers began to suspect that de Montfort and the other Templars up at the castle were into the full black magic bit. There were even those who were convinced he'd sold his soul to the devil long before he became a Templar. And then to cap it all, in 1317, word got back to the Hospitallers that it had now been proved beyond any doubt that shortly before he fled to Rhodes, he'd murdered his mistress, a woman named Agnes Beauvoir.
Why?
Well, according to local gossip, because she told him she was carrying his child. And some years earlier, a soothsayer had prophesied to de Montfort that his destruction would come about as the result of the flowering of his own seed.
And he believed it.
Obviously. Well, all this was too much for the Hospitallers. I mean, not only was de Montfort a proven murderer, but his victim was a Beauvoir. And the Beauvoir family had very close ties with the Hospitallers. So, while the Grand Master still wouldn't take any direct action against the Templars, he very conveniently looked the other way on the night when a dozen Hospitallers, young Belabre among them, went up to the castle. And during the meal that was laid on for them there, opened the gates and let in 300 of their brother knights. Then, between them, they put every one of the Templars to the sword, including de Montfort.
So much for the prophecy, then.
Right. And if they'd left it at that, the Hospitallers would have been in the clear. Unfortunately, though, they let their enthusiasm run away with them and went on to slaughter all the villagers as well. There were women and children, not easy to explain away. So the Grand Master, threatening hellfire and worse, put the lid on the whole thing very firmly. It had never happened, there had never been any Templars on the island, and the villagers had died during a minor outbreak of the plague, and that, he hoped, would be the end of it. And so it would, had not Philibert de Belabre fancied himself as a historian.
You're right, David. It's a fascinating story.
There must be a professorship in it for you at least.
I very much doubt it. It's not that earth-shattering. Now, I'll settle for a few quid for an article in History Today.
I think we should go, huh?
Right. You okay?
Yes, I'm fine. Why? Oh, I'm just a bit tired, that's all.
Then you mustn't be too late getting home.
That's right.
Are you going to tell Monsieur Lavalière what you have discovered?
I might.
Did you get on well with him?
He's all right. Not really a man's man, though. But with those looks and all his money, he's got to be a wow with the women. Especially if they're into Mercedes limousines. Although those eyes of his had turned me off. They look straight through you, don't they? Of course, I forgot you haven't met him, have you?
I'm not sure. I think I may have done briefly. This afternoon.
Anne.
David.
Thanks.
How did Anne sound when you telephoned her?
In the best of spirits. Just not interested in coming out tonight, that's all. She's got things to do, she said. I felt like a bit of company myself. You don't mind me dropping in like this, do you?
Of course not. And Anne didn't give you any impression that there was something perhaps she was covering up.
No. Not at all. As I said, she sounded fine. And she hasn't mentioned her husband to me since that day in Archangelos.
No. It is as if she were avoiding the subject.
In the hope that it's all over, maybe.
Perhaps.
I wish there were more I could do to help.
You have become very fond of her, I think.
Damn. It's beginning to show, is it?
Wait, I'll get some ice.
Θα τεθεί η ερώτηση στην επόμενη σύνοδο του Υπουργικού Συμβουλίου. Στην Ιταλία σήμερα υπήρξαν δραματικές εξελίξεις μετά τη σύλληψη του τραπεζίτη Μάριο Λεπορέλο, κατηγορούμενου για την ανάμειξή του στο σκάνδαλο γνωστό σαν κόκκινο τριαντάφυλλο, οι επιπτώσεις του οποίου απειλούν την παραίτηση του Πρωθυπουργού και την πτώση της Ιταλικής κυβέρνησης. Κατά τη διάρκεια συνέντευξης τύπου, σήμερα το απόγευμα, ο ανακριτής τον κατηγόρησε σαν ένα από τα κύρια οικονομικά στελέχη της μαφία.
Is this Banco Fabiani business in Italy?
Σήμερα το πρωί,
Yes, I read about it in the newspaper this morning. Another big scandal. And many ordinary people will lose everything they have because of it, they say.
It's like it's going to bring down the government. Now they're saying the mafia's behind it.
In Italy, they always blame the mafia. But the mafia cannot be responsible for everything. And there must be others who will find this to their advantage.
Πολλά άτομα τραυματίστηκαν σε οδομαχίες και μεταξύ τους περισσότεροι από 12 ήταν αστυνομικοί, από τους οποίους οι 3 είναι αρκετά σοβαρά. Σύμφωνα με τελευταίες πληροφορίες και παρόλο που δεν υπήρχαν άλλες αναταραχές, η κατάσταση στη Ρώμη και σε άλλες ιταλικές πόλεις που υπάρχουν υποκαταστήματα της Banco Fabiani είναι ακόμη τεταμένη. Το Διεθνές Αρχαιολογικό Συνέδριο που συνέρχεται σήμερα στη Θεσσαλονίκη.
The Prime Minister is holding an emergency meeting of the Cabinet at this moment, Maître. Our information is that he will tender his resignation by the middle of next week, and that Chevalier Mancini will be invited to form the new government.
An invitation which he will decline.
Naturally, this time, as you advised.
I want a transcript of that cabinet meeting on my desk by noon tomorrow. Good night, one writes.
My darling. Oh, my darling.
Evaristo!
God, woman, but you're beautiful.
Thank you.
That's lovely.
Oh, yes. Do you like it?
It's stunning.
Don gave it to me. Ready?
Another ancestor, do you suppose?
Mrs. Tierney, I am not sure I should allow you to proceed any further. You will be the envy and the outrage of every other woman here tonight.
I sincerely hope so.
Good evening, Mr. Bascom. I'm delighted to see you again.
I see you've made 1 or 2 changes.
For tonight only, I assure you. Do you approve?
A couple of drinks and I expect they'll grow on me.
Permit me. Mr. Bascom?
Not for me, thanks. No, I'll stick to the one I'm wearing, like you.
The idea of another identity does not attract you?
Not really. Then everyone will know who I am. I'm underdressed as usual. Hey, you dancing?
Who's asking?
I'm asking.
I'm dancing.
Great.
You must excuse us.
Of course. I hope you enjoy yourselves.
No thanks, I'm sitting this one out. Got a bad leg, love.
Are you dancing?
Who's asking?
She's asking.
I'm dancing.
Have you been enjoying the view, Mrs. Tierney?
Good evening, Herr von Wright.
Is something the matter?
What?
You seem upset.
No, not a bit. I'm fine, thanks.
You are not leaving, are you?
No, not yet.
Find my kinsman interesting, Mr. Bascom.
He was quite something.
A truly remarkable man.
Looking at him, though, you wouldn't believe he was a murderer, would you? Or that he'd done business with the devil. According to popular belief, anyway.
I beg your pardon.
We don't know the full story, then. Why he was here on Rhodes and what happened to him.
As to why he was here, my understanding has always been that he held this castle for the Order of the Knights of the Temple.
He did. Briefly and on sufferance, but you won't find any mention of that in the history books.
Really?
No, not a word. When I first saw this portrait, it bothered me. I couldn't work out how de Montfort, as a Templar, fitted in on an island that was run by the Hospitallers.
No. I understand that has always been something of a mystery to everyone.
You haven't got any family records?
None from that period which have survived.
Well, haven't you ever wondered?
I cannot say I've given it too much thought, Mr. Bascom. But then, the past is full of unanswered questions. Is it not?
True, but I'm happy to say that I've found the answer to this one.
So it would appear. May I ask where?
In the museum here, amongst some old records.
Which have not been examined before?
Well, not very carefully, but they're none of them very important, nor even very interesting in themselves.
And you are saying, are you, that from what you have discovered, the Comte de Montfort was a murderer?
Among other things. He garroted his girlfriend. Or so the story goes. A woman named Agnes Beauvoir. Sex, violence, touch of the diabolicals. Your family's history's got everything going for it, Monsieur Lavalier.
How very interesting. So please, from the beginning, if you would.
Excuse me, I'm looking for a... Ah, thanks a lot. Have fun. Break your necks. Agnes Beauvoir.